Hi everyone, my name is David Ogilvy, and this is the podcast where I explore what it means to live, feel, and work better. If you're a woman of a certain age, come and join my conversation with Louise, where we talk about menopause, imposter syndrome, brain fog, and her experience of all of those, and what she's currently doing at work and in her relationships to keep it all together. So, hi Louise.
Hello, David.
Hello, Louise. Welcome to the Resilience Development Podcast. And it's nice to have another member of the team on today, just chatting away. Because what we're going to do today is we've got to talk about menopause.
Yeah, that's that subject that's around and out there at the moment that lots of people either love or hate.
Yeah. So I'm not sure which camp I sit in. I'm pretty sure that I sit in the love camp, given that I know some people that have been going through menopause. But let me ask you this. This is the Resilience Development Podcast. What has menopause got to do with resilience? Or what has resilience got to do with menopause?
Oh my goodness, where do you start? So, resilience, as in looking at it from a menopause state, is if you don't know what's going on in your brain, in your body, how you're going to react, how the stress is going to impact you, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, especially when women are going through the menopause. Absolutely. We are in, I say we, because let's get this absolutely straight, David. You know me well enough. I've been going through the menopause now for a little over 5 years. So I'm on HRT. It all started when I went through quite a huge thing in my life and I lost my mum. It sort of pushed me off, it went. And for women, when they're going through the menopause, we are in a state of fight or flight continuously. Cortisol levels are through the roof with us. That's just one of the many, many things that it does to our body. And it's very, very cruel. Let's get that out there. It's very cruel for a lot of us women.
So you mentioned a few things there: stress response, cortisol. What do you mean? But for anybody who's not familiar with stress response and cortisol,
Okay, so as soon as you detect a threat, you instantly release a chemical, your stress chemical, into your body called cortisol. And women, when they're going through the menopause, are in a constant state of fight or flight. It's a lot to do with some of the chemicals and some of the hormones leaving our body, especially ones that regulate our vagus nerve and our fight or flight response. So we are constantly releasing this stress chemical called cortisol. And cortisol does a lot of things to your body when you're getting ready to have a fight or to run away, basically. So it gives us, it can upset your stomach. It can literally, with menopause especially, brain fog. It takes away 40% of your decision-making part of your brain. But that's even heightened even more when you're going through the menopause. It's not just taking it away. Sometimes I lose whole words from my brain, and you sort of try and catch up and try and work them out. So cortisol released into your bloodstream isn't very good for you. So you are in a heightened state of stress or fight or flight.
yeah. So it's gonna play impact. It's gonna play havoc with you health, your relationships, because you're stressed, and fuzzy thinking, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, every single one of those. Totally. Lots of people associate some of the symptoms of menopause, like they can sort of identify some of them. We usually think of them as hot flushes. Yeah, you get obviously irregular periods, you get mood changes, decreased libido, headaches, changing taste. But I can go on. There's over 34 common symptoms of the menopause, and all of them will affect those three areas that you just spoke about. We'll be constantly stressed. Our mood swings, our relationships are consequently compromised, as well as brain fog. This brain fog that lots of women talk about has an impact on so many different areas when we're going through menopause, to the fact that confidence drops. You can't remember things. I mean, as a facilitator, and you'll know when you're presenting, you're often thinking 2 or 3 slides ahead. And sometimes, actually, I can give you an example. It was a couple of weeks ago, and I knew I had to say the word audience, but I couldn't remember it. And it was coming up in 3 slides' time. And it was going round and round my head. And I kept thinking, what is that word? What is that word? Eventually, I had to use a completely different word because it's just literally wiped from your memory. Then afterwards, you go, audience. That's what it is. And for a lot of women, this is a huge deal. especially when you've got your brain fog, you can't remember, you're having to write extra lists, and your confidence starts dropping. I think that's one of the big things for women of my age. Confidence starts dropping a lot.
It sounds scary.
It is, and I think that just recently it's been highlighted a hell of a lot more. There's a lot more in the news. People are starting to talk about it, but talking about it isn't enough. Isn't enough. I was out with some girlfriends a few weekends ago, and one of the ladies was sat down, and I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I said, "You look really preoccupied. Is everything all right?" And she said, "I think I'm going to die." And I said, "Why?" She said, "I've got these heart palpitations." And I must have smiled because she looked at me a bit weirdly, and I went, "Are you going through the menopause?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Yeah, it's one of the signs." And I experienced them myself. I'd be sitting there quite relaxed watching telly, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. And your heart starts palpitating to the point that your heart will ache afterwards. And if you don't know that that's one of the symptoms of menopause, you actually do think there's something wrong with me. I'm going to have a heart attack.
I was just going to ask you that. I was going to say, did you spot the signs, or did it take you quite a long time to spot
It
the
took me a
signs?
long time. Took me a long time. It took me going to the doctors. And, our GPs are fabulous. So I'm not going to knock GPs. This is not what this session's about. But you need to go to a specialist where they can turn around. Because my GP sent me for tests on my heart. And it had nothing to do with that. It's to do with the hormones, and it's to do with them leaving the body and all the different areas that it affects. And that's one of them. I'm in a constant state of fight or flight. So I'm stressed and I've got cortisol. And consequently, my heart pounding away. I literally thought I was going to die. I even went and bought an iWatch so that I could check it. And then I became obsessed checking it the whole time.
Yeah, because you got that physical side of it, but then you got that mental and emotional side of it that people don't really talk about, do they?
No, the physical side, I've had quite a few of the symptoms, and there's lots of other ones, but I remember getting up in the mornings or in the evenings, and I would try and stretch my hips out. My husband, another David, my husband would come in and he'd be like, "What are you doing? You need to go for a massage. You need to do that." I'd say it's a really weird pain, and that's another one of the signs. It's in your hips, it's in your pelvis, and you just can't stretch it out. And again, it's all the hormones leaving the body. So yeah, there's lots of real physical signs. Apart from the normal ones where we go, women get moody, they get emotional, um, sleep is often there, and then hot flushes. Now, let me get one thing straight. I don't call them hot flushes. I call them power surges because that's what they are. Literally like a power surge going through your body. Real women have power surges, and that's what it's like. I remember my mum, my lovely mum, who I lost in 2017. But before she passed away, she said, "Real women have power surges." And I've always remembered that. But I remember saying to her, I think I'm having hot flushes. And she said, you don't think you have hot flushes, Louise, or these power surges. You'll know. And they come from within, and the sweat will drip off. And that was another thing. I'd be presenting and I'd see people look at me as if I was going to have a heart attack or pass out. And I think, I'm going to have to address this. And as soon as I just opened it up and said, "I'm really sorry, I'm having a hot flush," everyone went, "Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to pass out on you. It is literally a hot flush. Give me 2 seconds and I'll be back in the room."
I remember working with you and sat in the office and we sat next to each other and that kind of thing happening. Because, I mean, for me, I don't know a lot about menopause, right? But I appreciate how serious it can be. And I think that's it's a bit of a change. It's a bit of an attitude, probably an education adjustment. Because people would just go, "Oh, she's just having a hot flush,"
Yeah. Or
wouldn't
she's
they?
going through the change. And they do it a
Yeah.
little bit like Les Dawson. Ooh, she's going through the change. Um, and it's not until you're there. And I think many, many years ago, decades ago, it wasn't discussed. So we didn't know so many of the side effects that women would go through. They go through it silently. Now we are in an age and an era that we can start discussing it and letting people know, because that's one of the things I said that I lost my mum in 2017, and it's really sad that I can't ask her. I haven't got her there to ask, because it's really good when you've got someone that's blood related to you, because you often go through the same sort of thing. So I've got my lovely mother-in-law I could ask, but She's from a different DNA pool. So it's, it's a little bit harder to go, what did you go through? Because we're all very, very different. We're all very, very different.
But is it similar genetically, potentially then?
Yes, potentially. You'll often go through similar things that your mum would have gone through, or your grandmother, or your older sister. You can start to get the idea. Not always, but a lot of the time you'll follow the similar patterns. And of course, they'll be more open with you. My mum would have been very, very open with me with what she went through. But even in that short time of me being sort of like in my 20s and my mum going through the change to now, we discuss it far more. And not everybody has every symptom.
No, because I'm thinking of that link to resilience, and I'm thinking of the link to stress. And a lot of the time we get stressed because we're uncertain. And obviously just being able to talk to somebody else and for them to go, well, I've had something very similar. You're kind of removing that uncertainty, aren't you? And you're removing that self-doubt. Because I know, obviously, we work together. So I know for you, you started to do, I say started, it's a good couple of years now, quite a lot of coaching for women who, imposter syndrome, really, isn't it? It's
Quite weird, David. I'd start off doing training. Obviously, I'd have a lot of women and women of a certain age, and I started to see this pattern coming. And a lot of the time, they would come to me for coaching around career or changing career or something. And then all of a sudden, it was so apparent in front of me that what these women, I'm not going to say were suffering from, what they were going through was actually the menopause, imposter syndrome, with a lot of doubt in there, a lot of doubt as they know, am I any good at my job? No, I'm not. They would have been flying high, very, very successful women. All of a sudden you get to a certain age and all of a sudden they go, I don't feel smart enough, or I'm not having what it takes to succeed or take another step higher in their field. And they'd often feel like they fooled everyone to get where they were. And they would dread getting found out. And you'd sort of be like, that's not the case. That's just what you're going through at the moment. So, they'd be working a lot harder to compensate for this. And it might be on a daily basis, or it could be just around specific pivotal points in their career. But every now and then, this imposter syndrome would come in and they'd start turning down opportunities because they didn't feel they were good enough for them. And it's huge. I mean, when you look at some of the statistics, a lot of women end up taking some time off from work and they don't want to disclose why. They don't want to let people know they're going through the menopause because it's looked at, I suppose, in some people's eyes as still something that is not an excuse, or it's not a relevant thing that they could be taking time off. And one other thing that I'm going to say here, 10% of women actually stop working due to their symptoms. Actually stop
And
working.
is that a physical thing, or do you think it's an emotional and mental thing? Because I remember talking to you about some of the coaching that you were doing, and obviously I know some of these people, and you were saying that some of them were thinking about just jacking in the jobs because they just felt they weren't good enough.
They've got to these really high positions in their fields, extremely capable women, and it starts creeping up. So it doesn't just happen overnight. It starts with a little bit of doubt and then a little bit more, and it builds. And if it's not addressed, if they're not given, so let's bring it back to resilience, if they're not given skills to be able to challenge their thinking, if they're not given the skills to be able to put things back into perspective and to actually just turn around and go, hang on, let me gather the evidence, that's not actually what's going on here, then it does lead to them turning around and going, you say to me, Lou, I just don't think I can cope. I don't think I can cope anymore. I think that my only choice is to stop working.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? If when we hit change, what are the strategies? Put up and shut up, give up, or rise up to it. And rising up to something like that, I would imagine, is very tough. I'm trying to think of it I'm trying to empathise, but from a male perspective, it's tricky.
I was just about to say, I don't think you can. I think that was very, very mean of me, but I don't think you can. I really don't think you can. And because it's different between going, oh, I've had a few little hormone imbalances and everything, to this whole complete, because don't forget, there's also the other emotional side of it. We're coming to an end of a chapter in our life, coming to a huge end of a chapter in our life. No more children. You guys are lucky. You can carry on sowing your wild oats way into your 80s. It's not the same for us women. And it's all that thing around, men mature better and they get grey hair and they get more distinguished. We hit the menopause, we start sweating, we start gaining weight, we start losing our hair, we don't have as much sleep, our moods change, our libido goes down. All of a sudden, we're fighting against everything. Confidence gets knocked, and all of a sudden, you can see that, it can really affect women. And also, let me don't take it away. I'm going to give due to my beautiful husband. And it affects the whole family. It affects him as well. He hates seeing me when I turn around and go, oh, I can't do that and I can't do this and I've gained weight and I can't sleep. I'm tossing and turning in the bed, or I'm having a hot flush and he just doesn't know what to do for me because all I want to yell at him is, don't touch me, don't come near me. So it's hard all round.
Yeah, there's a lot in there around identity, isn't there, and how you define yourself, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to relate to as I know it's completely different, but, grey hair as you get older, balding as a male, it's linked to your identity. It's not, and I think the point I'm kind of coming to in my head is, it's not a physical thing. It's not just a physical thing. I've often thought of the menopause as it's that physical. It's the sweats and the hot flush, and I've not really thought about the kind of the mental and emotional and the social side of it, because I'm presuming.
Yeah, that goes. And it's one of the biggest things that I say to people, our social resilience is the first one we give up on. Because my friends will phone me up and go, "Oh, Lou, let's go out on Monday." They'll go, "Let's go out Friday night," and I'll go, "Oh yeah, brilliant, excellent." By Wednesday, I'm feeling quite drained, and I'm trying to think of an excuse why I can't go, because I'm thinking, I don't feel if I've got the confidence. I don't feel that I feel great. I'm absolutely exhausted. I haven't slept well for 2 nights. My sweats are getting the better of me. And you start to think it. And the ironic thing is, when I push myself, which is what I do now, I push myself to go out, I have a great time. And it builds my social resilience up, and actually it encourages my confidence. I think, we tend to want to withdraw and just sit on the sofa and eat munchies and watch our telly, when I don't think that's actually good for us. We need to be getting out. We need to be socializing.
Yeah, it's the last thing you want to do, though, isn't it?
Absolutely the last thing you want to do. It
When
seems
you're
like too
not.
much of an effort.
Yeah, okay. So keep educating me. How long does menopause last?
How long's a piece of string, David?
Right. So I thought
I
it's
know that's a real flippant response.
no.
So anything between, usually in general, let's just go in the middle, between sort of 5 and 10 years.
Wow, it's that long.
Yeah, because you've got perimenopause to start off with, and then you can go through. So sort of 5 years. I'm 5 years down, and I'm nowhere near finished yet. The best is yet to come, I'm sure.
So what's the difference between perimenopause and menopause?
Oh, so perimenopause is just the start of it. It's just the start. It's when you start to get the symptoms, but you will still have regular periods. You can still conceive during it, but you start to get the hot flushes, and you start to get the loss of some of the hormones in the body. Then you go into full-blown menopause. It's basically when your periods have stopped. And then the symptoms really start. So it's like a little before stage and then a full stage.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say. It sounds awful.
It is horrible. It is horrible. There'll be, hopefully there's gonna be a lot of women out there that'll be listening, and I think that society is changing, but up until now, it's always been, I speak to lots of women, they go, "Oh, I don't want to go on HRT." And I go, "Why not?" "Well, I just think I ought to go through it naturally." And I'm like, "Are you mad? Get along to the doctor, go and get checked out. If HRT suits you, go on it. Go on it." Because it's a little bit like, if you had a thyroid problem, you'd definitely go along and get tablets for it. If you've got something wrong with you, you'd go along and get something to do with it. And that's what happens with the menopause. We are losing something that we need, and we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take really good care of ourselves, from trying to get sleep, trying to eat properly, giving yourself the rest, giving yourself that absolute gift to turn around and go, I am good enough. So let me start challenging my thoughts. Let me go and socialize. We were talking about socializing earlier on, but go and socialize with my friends, because like-minded people that are going through it really boost your confidence. Literally, like this lady that sat down with me, and she went, I honestly thought I was going to die. And then I started listing some of the other symptoms, and she was like, oh my goodness, I thought that was from this, and I thought that was from this. And I'm like, no, it can be from the menopause. So I'd definitely say, if you can, go and get checked out by a specialist. If not, definitely go along to your doctor. Definitely go along to your doctor and do something about it. It doesn't take it all away, but it helps.
But 39 symptoms as well, did you say?
Yes. Yeah.
So what would you
Joint
say?
pain. Sorry.
Joint pain. Well,
I was going to say joint
just-
pain, night sweats, irregular periods, mood swings. You've got thinning hair. You've got your digestive system that can go to pieces. There's just the list is absolutely endless. Memory lapsing, brittle nails, weight gain, stress, incontinence. Just get really down to it. Dizzy spells. I get those when my blood pressure drops and I go, and I can do that while I'm sitting down. Your taste can change with your taste buds. Osteoporosis can set in. You've got allergies, irregular heartbeat. I've already talked about the heart palpitations. This one was the one that sort of shocked me, because to be talking very bluntly, your body odor changes as well. You don't smell like yourself. You could do that and you go, it doesn't smell like me. It's really weird. You can get irritable, depression, anxiety. That's where it comes a little bit tricky, because a lot of the signs do shown up as anxiety or depression. And often if you go to the GP, before you know it, they can be treating that. And that's not what needs to be treated. It's all around the hormones. Panic disorder. I mean, I'm going to stop listing, then they go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, but it's good, because I bet people haven't thought about it like that. I wouldn't. I mean, some people would, but I wouldn't. What advice would you give to somebody who thinks that they might be, or suspect then that they are perimenopausal or menopausal? You mentioned go to the doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. Go along and see the doctor. List the symptoms that you're having, and they'll be able to work it out from that. Years ago, doctors were very reluctant to start prescribing HRT. Nowadays, they're getting educated more. I mean, there was a study done years and years ago, and I'm not going to bore you around it all, but it was done on an older set of women, and it was in a smaller set, and the HRT didn't come out great. So all of a sudden, GPs were like, "Oh no, we're not doing it." But nowadays, it's moved on leaps and bounds, and it doesn't take all the symptoms away, it doesn't take everything away, but it makes it so much more manageable. So much more manageable. I mean, I'm sure you can remember. I mean, we've been working together for what? Oh, over a decade and a half. We've known each other now. Yeah, so sort of become like an older sister to you in some ways, as I nudge you.
Not sort of. Yeah.
It's a little bit incestuous in our households, but I can remember at some points me going, I don't think I can do that, and I don't think I can do this, and you going, that's not like you. And that was my confidence just going plummeting, and that was the only bit that I would let you see. I was underneath, I was most probably quivering even more than that. And just not knowing what was going on, as you were saying earlier on, is the point that, that fear of the unknown. What on earth's going on with me? Why do I feel this? Will I ever feel normal again?
Yeah, I've got to pick up on something you've said and just clarify. It's not incestuous in our household.
Oh,
It's more familial. I think that's the kind of
yeah,
term you
no,
were looking for.
I
You're
think that might have been it. Yeah,
because you are definitely like a sister for me.
yeah,
Definitely. Don't know what I'd
yeah.
do without you.
Well, it's often when you turn around and say that I'm your second wife, and I go, no, I'm your work wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Sister.
Because for those of you that don't know us, Emma, David's wife, is also my best friend, and my husband is also called David. So people get really confused sometimes when we're talking amongst each other as to who we're actually talking about.
We definitely need to just clarify that word
Yeah,
though.
yeah. So
People are like, what? What?
it's not that sort of company. Let me just tell you, it's not.
No, it's definitely not that.
Definitely not.
Definitely not that sort of company. So, what advice would you give? Quickly, right? What advice would you give to partners of people going through menopause?
You will know your partner a lot better than I will, but I would just say treat them like they're 4 years of age. If they're hungry, feed them. If they're tired, let them sleep. If they're irritable, there's something going on in the background. The biggest thing I say to my hubby is, don't keep going, oh, that's because you're going through the menopause. He's trying to be sympathetic. And I'll go, I told you that. And he goes, no, no, you didn't. It's because you're going through the menopause. So quite often I've said to him, you need to leave the room now. Leave the room now. And just also keep in mind that when we turn around and go, don't touch me, it's not because we don't love you. It's because your hands feel like molten lava when they come on us if we're having a hot flush. It's just, I was trying to explain to David the other night, I said, it's literally like your hands are 1,000 degrees as they touch me. And I just can't cope. You just need to give us that little bit of space and have patience. We will come through it. And in fact, we come through it and we're like even more superheroes when we come through at the other end. But yes, if it's for other halves, that's definitely what I would say. That was definitely what I say.
And I guess we should touch on, because I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to chat with you today is the coaching side of things, because I don't think people think about that. But I know absolutely, and often when I'm talking to people, I say, "Oh, Lou specialises in coaching women through the menopause, right?" Amongst other things, like they're surprised at that because they normally think about it physically,
Yeah.
right? So I guess you'd recommend people also think about it like that and find a coach and go be social. And
Yeah.
what the benefits of finding, how would you, in what ways do you help people as an example?
I get them to challenge their thinking. We get down to the nitty gritty of what they're actually going through. I think if I went in stages, it would be we talk about what the symptoms are, what symptoms they've got, and then I sort of put their mind at ease. Then we can crack down to what's going on underneath, so they can challenge their own thinking. I can get them to think about, if you knew you weren't going to fail, what would you attempt? What is it you would go for? And then open up their horizons again to go, yeah, you can do that. Tell me how you can do it. Show me ways. And they've got it all in there. They just haven't got the confidence to verbalize it or to feel that they can actually do it.
Yeah, so it's that imposter syndrome, isn't it? And often when I'm thinking about coaching, I think what you help people with is you help them with clarity of thought. And if they've
Yeah.
got that clarity of thought, they have the confidence to commit. And a lot of people are looking for confidence so they can commit to things. They forget about that clarity of thought. And from listening to you and working with you, menopause it can give you muddy thinking. It can, and then add everything on top. It's no wonder you end up kind of doubting, and no wonder you find yourself in a space where you feel a lot like an imposter. So that's where a good coach can really
Yeah.
help.
Absolutely. You feel like an imposter. You double guess yourself the whole time. And because you do forget things, you'll say to somebody, "Oh, I told you to do that," and they'll go, "No, you didn't." And then you go, "Perhaps I didn't. Perhaps I haven't." And every time you answer up, you're always questioning yourself underneath. So, I mean, I think what some of my biggest tips that I give to people that are going through coaching with me, or I'll give to anybody anyway, definitely is breathe. Breathe. Take a breath, and we do it in a 4-7-8 format, but it stops the stress response. Just breathe in through your nose, feel that stomach rise, hold it for 7 and out through your mouth for the count of 8, and repeat it a couple of times. It cuts off the stress response, so it allows us to have clearer thinking. So I often say to people, do that before you respond to people, do that before you're going to go and do a task, or before, if you've been, ignited in some way, someone's really got you going, quickly breathe. If you are feeling that you've got imposter syndrome, check your thinking. Ask yourself, we do 4 very good questions that go through with our course, but we just turn and say, what evidence have you got to prove this belief that you're saying? Does it help to hold on to this belief? How does it make you feel to hold on to this belief? And then what would happen if you thought the exact opposite? Sometimes I get to the women and they turn around and go, well, if I believed I could go and do that. And you go, yeah. And they go, that would be great. I go, okay, let's start looking at how we can get that to happen. Remember, you're not alone. Speak up. I talk about things the whole time. I think it's you'll definitely agree with that. But I'll talk about it the whole time. If you're going to have a hot flush, don't try and hide it. People will see it. Just tell me, go, I'm so sorry, I'm having a quick spell. And people are sympathetic nowadays. We all know what's going on. Definitely what's going on. I'd say try and stretch yourself with just little goals that you're going to be able to achieve quite easy, not too easily, but quite easily. And then once you've achieved them, it'll build your confidence so that you can then go on to something else. So start off small, keep stretching yourself that little bit, and you'll come to the realization that you can do it. And then the last one I would always say is to people, just don't forget to socialize. Go out and speak to like-minded people. Keep talking about it. Surround yourself with people that are going through it as well. Not the whole time, because eventually you'll be like that, oh, for crying out loud, I can't talk about the menopause any longer. But it's great to have a support network out there that you can go and talk to. I think there would be my little tips.
Yeah, little tips that I know have a big impact, like the 4-7-8 breath.
Yeah.
Even just challenging your thinking and getting out there. All of that stuff. They're all small things that can have a big impact. And that's why I think that's where coaching helps with some people. They need that accountability. They need somebody to help them and have that accountability and carve some time out. Okay.
Because if not, you're just sitting with the same people with the same thoughts going round and around your head, and they will magnify. You will start catastrophizing them. They'll get bigger and bigger and bigger until woe betide, you'll be one of those that statistic that'll go, I'm going to have to leave work because I just can't deal with it. Woe betide. Woe betide. Does it? I'm not from Yorkshire. I'm from down south in Surrey. I'm one of those Surrey people.
There we go. So I always ask my guests, Lou, always, where can people find you? If they want to know more about what you do, where can they find you?
Do you know what? The easiest place to go and find me is on our website, www.resiliencetraining.co.uk, and you'll see all about me and the rest of the team. And you can find us. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter. I'm sure David will put all the links in at the end for you. So you can just go and find us on there.
That was beautifully done, Lou.
Was it? Was I like a professional?
That was beautifully done. Beautifully done. So yeah, we'll put all the links on. People will be able to see it. And I think people will have got a lot out of this. I've learned some stuff, definitely.
Yeah, and it's just to keep an open mind. Women will have different symptoms that they're going through. Somebody might have all of them. Somebody might have none. There's quite a few lucky ones out there that breeze through it. Yeah, I really don't like you that much. No, but some of us that really suffer, and we get different ones. Some of us that go on longer and shorter. So it's one of those subjects that you just keep learning the whole time. But just to understand, it's not just about having a hot flush and being irritable and moody. It's a lot more.
Yeah, that's a great thing. Great soundbite to end on. It's not just about being a hot flush and being moody.
No,
there's a lot more.
A lot more going on underneath that, other people just won't see. And it's worth going to speak to somebody, going to speak to your GP. If you do need coaching, come and see me. Or I'm sure there's other coaches as well. None of them will be as good as me though. And yeah, get some coaching so that you can get some things down and you've got it all in there. It just needs to be cleared, worked out, and give you the resources to push forward.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's always lovely to see you. Always
lovely to see you as well, Dave.
No doubt I'll be seeing you real soon.
We'll most probably finish this and we'll have another Zoom meeting. But yeah, it's always great. I love your podcast, by the way, David. I just think so. I've seen some brilliant ones. And if you haven't, I'm going to boost the podcast now. If you haven't seen any of the other ones, I mean, you've got some fabulous ones. Absolute Stuart Penn. You've got the guy that's going off and doing that triple on his own. You've got Mark Gilroy. They've got some brilliant ones. I've enjoyed every single one of them. They're all so different. Different.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff.
Hopefully you enjoyed this.
But thanks for today. And I'll see you soon, Lou.
All right,
cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. If you've loved this episode, please tell your friends. And why not sign up for our monthly resilience drop? It's a newsletter full of hints, tips and skills to build your resilience. Links are in the usual place.